Hello, hello, ciao a tutti. This is Edgar from Cremona. Today I wanted to talk about this issue about other makers' work and how I decide if I take it away or if I accept it. Now, craftsman people from nature, they're craftsmen because they believe they make everything better than the other ones. So this is from plumbers, electricians, construction workers, name it. There is a certain way of doing things, and I like it to accept a lot, even people working with me, when it comes to close to the scroll. I don't influence them too much or about the F-holes. There are a few things where I say I would do it like this or like that, but sometimes I just make a step backside, okay? Here in Cremona there are a lot of people working, and I see a lot of work which is made in one way or another, and I learn by looking from other works, from other people's work. And this is how I learned my whole trade. Now, when I come to a cello, as I told you on the previous video regarding this cello, and you could probably, I guess, you could hear a slight difference. For me, it's huge. It's not magic. It's just a certain way of doing things how they should be. And you cannot mess it up and just by doing it somehow. So now, let's go over there and I show you what in detail I criticize on something like this or like this on this specific cello. We go on the table, it's a little bit easier. Okay, so here I show you how I take here this whole video, and here are my things here. I guess this is a good way how we can show things here a little bit better. So let's talk first about the sound post. This sound post I decided to take it away because it seemed to me very large, and so I measured it. It's 11.3, 11.44, 11.5, and I know that here in Cremona people even throw it inside with over 12 millimeters, but people I know here in Cremona, they don't know that the rest of the world actually is 10.5, and my experience is that the smaller this circle is, and I think 10.5 is pretty small, the less of the top is reduced, which can freely vibrate. So usually if the customer is not happy, I allow myself to change that. And another small detail was on this sound post that one side was actually, now I think you do not see it that nice here. Let me see if you can see it. One surface was very nicely adjusted with a cutting tool, let's say, how you can see in my episode 28, where I show how I cut a sound post. And yeah, you certainly can take a file and a rasp for everything, but if I see it here on the other side, here there's the upper side. This here now with this light you cannot see, I'm sorry, but I just saw it was definitely made with a rasp. I don't know, something like this. I have really difficulties then to accept that this was made by having under control what you take away. So I don't make sound posts by fortune. There's some chip-offs even here. It didn't convince me, okay? Sorry to my colleagues who did it. I don't know who it is. Nobody put it on the name. It's always somebody else who made it. I just changed it, okay? And I'm sure that the sound post, I put it inside, I took a few hours and I adjusted it as good as possible since I want that the customer is super happy, okay? So this away. The next thing was this bridge. Now, even if you try to read it, even myself, I have difficulties to read who made it. It doesn't really make any sense to know who it made. They wrote March 2020. It was not convincing me. First thing, when the strings were up, it was because the whole bridge was like this on the cello. I made this leg longer to raise it, okay? And by looking at it from the upper side, here, if I have it like this, now I don't know if I can keep it like this, you see that it's going narrow here, and then it goes large here, and narrow here. I don't have any acoustical researches about this kind of bridge, and I do not accept it. But now let's say this maker took a lot of time and did it that way, and this was the best way that it sounded. Then I take off the strings and then I start measuring. And let's say one thing I measure is like this, the thickness, and here it is 12.81, and the other one is 12.56. So they're close to 0.3 millimeters, which is a huge amount of material more than on the other one, which is interesting, and I think this is just a sign of matter, but not really something made very under control. Here the feeds are 11.25, and here it is 10.8. Fact is that it's completely without any concept, okay? This is something I do not accept on a bridge. This one I took off of over the door where I put all the ones which I don't use anymore. But I just hear old bridge of mine. If you look at the feeds, they're completely parallel, and I make it 10.5, okay? Yeah? And other one, 10.5. Now here, if you play a little bit, should be 10.5. Something is okay. Yeah? I hope you accept 1/100th of a millimeter. Before, when I was measuring, it was correct, but anyhow, it's fine. Oops, here like this, it's fine. Yeah. Anyhow, so I try to do here something. It's not because I'm sure that it will be sounding better, but it's just for the next maker who is judging if he should leave this bridge or not. I just make it perfect so he knows, hey, this guy knew what he did, okay? It's just a way that you get to other colleagues of yours to show them that you have things under control, okay? This is one thing. The other thing here, maybe I cannot show you, but here, this is not straight. This is hollow. So here you can see that this is hollow. The feeds, they're adjusted hollow. The entire surface here on both feeds is hollow. And this is something very negative, because then the edges are squeezing inside with 140 kilograms in your top of your antique instrument, while it should be, like on mine here, perfectly fitted like this, rather a little bit like this on an old instrument, okay, and should attach perfectly to the top. And this makes a huge difference. So we're not making here things that when the strings are pulled up that it seems to be perfect, but we're working here that it is perfect, okay? Because I believe that the sound is transmitted by attaching perfectly smooth without damaging, but just by squeezing away the air and making a perfect match between bridge foot and instrument top. And this gives the best transmission of the sound. Next thing, which I just permit myself to change a bit of somebody else, beside the fact that I saw that they didn't really change anything on the feet, and the arching is completely on one side completely flat, and on the other side this Walt Disney arching, which goes from the feet all the way up, all over, and is somehow like a bubble on one side and on the other side flat, which to the musician makes a change, because if you look at the instrument with the strings pulled up, it's like a sad smiley face, right? It's like, it seems to be like this, while it should be not flat, but a little bit adjusted. And if you look at it from the upper side, it should appear straight. And that makes a slightly difference, because these outer strings then are a little bit closer, and musicians are used to this kind of shape. Okay, and beside that, it looks more convincing, and when they perceive it is convincing, they are all really a little bit more calm regarding the whole thing. Next thing is that the thickness of the upper part of the bridge, I have to put it down here like this. Here it is a little bit too thick. Beside that, it is first narrow, then it becomes very thick, gets a little bit more narrow here, then it's thicker again, and then goes narrow again, right? Which is not very nice. And I think it should be all the way, all through 2.4 millimeters. So I don't now want to start measuring here to show you how this is all like this. But this is another small detail I don't really like. And another thing, which when it comes to style and when you just watch at the bridge itself, when you just quick look, there is a different style, and they didn't want to work from the feet. Okay, you can accept that. They believe that the feet have to be like from an elephant, and because so then it's not moving anymore. Okay, I can accept that. But then all the work out here, they did actually by consuming this distance. While this distance I don't touch, okay? And all the rest I do is just in order to increase taking off material in areas where you can take away, and in areas where you should not, I don't take anything away. Further, inside here I work to make it more square and not like a V, so that the feet are not spreading. So with less material, actually I have a better result of the entire bridge. So that means it's lighter, quicker in responding, and certainly at the very end gives a more open sound. And last and not least, and it's probably the one which the first thing the musician is actually noticing, is the curve. Now, if you look at this one, you say, yeah, it's also straight and strange, but this is how I showed you already, that these 4 dots are actually lined up on a circle, okay? And so if you have 4 dots on a circle, you can actually put one line and another line, and this is the result of it, because I just think it looks a little bit more nicer. But those 4 dots are on a circle. Now, if you look at the other bridge over there, it's apparently, you see, compared to what I have, which is a very standard measurement, and it's not that I made it, you can get it even from the templates of some Herdim and Dick and shops where they sell templates. This one, there is no template. They just probably made it somehow, and then they were not able to follow the line. So they load down a little bit too much here. So these 3 dots are a little bit on flatter, and here these three are a little bit more rounder. And on this string here, on the second string, they really have difficulties to play actually when they go in higher positions, because the curve is not correct. So I just put now this one and this one above the other one, and I just want to show you. I don't know if you can see that. So you have actually three dots which we could accept, 1, 2, and 3, but then this one is too flat, right? I don't know if this is getting clear enough, or the 2 with this a little bit, but it's completely a curve which is not matching to the musician's needs. This one is the one which is too far inside, so they even glued on here protection, but they should have glued it here in order to raise here this side here. Okay, so all this is actually something where I would say this brings me to the fact that I want to change it. And a very last detail, because I'm a maniac when it comes to bridges and all this sound adjustment, are these notches here, which are a little bit too much inside, considering that this has been made in March and we are now in October. And this is definitely too much. And how you can see, this is already a bridge which I took off and I made another one because it was too low or something. What I have is, for a cello, more than enough, and the string has to be on the cello, certainly good enough that it is not moving away, but on the other side it has to be freely vibrating, and at least a third of the thickness of the string should go into these notches, but not more. Everything which is more is just weight which you do not need for every note you're playing. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I was not too nasty to some colleagues out there. I always love to see on the internet, on the YouTube, other colleagues what they're doing and how they do it, how they fit the bass bar and how they varnish and how they do this and that, just to get a little bit inspiration and to see what's going up out there. And I think what I'm giving you here is very precious and is unique, and I have not seen too many who do this in such a specific and nice way. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have fun, tell your friends, subscribe. Subscribe if you want to know more details about violin making and you're more in a maker and not a musician. Then Patreon is just exactly what you need. And every month we have a live transmission question and answer. You can ask me questions, you can propose things, and I will prepare every month for the VIP members a very specific, detailed article about these matters. It's a community. You help me to make all this here possible, and together we make it a better sounding world. Okay, thank you, enjoy, bye-bye, and tell your friends, bye-bye.